Glad that you're here, and guys, I want to tell you, just to let you know how excited I get every time I get to come here and be with y'all on Wednesday night. You probably don't see my wife, my girlfriend, and she's in the back. Girlfriend of 46 years now, and but we get pumped every time that we come here because of the way that you sing, the things that you say, the things that are said here, like was said tonight. And I just don't see this many places. And we get to go around and visit other congregations, but you guys are special. I wish I could get to know each one of you personally. I really do. I'm a hugger. I wish I could hug everybody in here. You know, maybe I'll get to hug some. I'll get to retreat this weekend because we're going to get to go do that. This is the first time this year I think I'm not the oldest person in the room. James Watson from Smyrna is here, one of the elders from Smyrna. So James, thank you, brother, for being here tonight. But it's getting to where when I go places and I sit down and start looking around, I'm the oldest person in here. And considering when I was 47, I was a youth minister here at Teenside. I made it 5 years, so that wasn't bad, you know. And that's when I became a shepherd, my 3rd year at Teenside, and started serving for the last 20 years here at college side. So I'm glad to be with you tonight. Life is good when we're in a place like this, isn't it? You know, when we're here on Wednesday night and you guys are doing your late night praise, whatever night you do, so Sunday nights now when y'all do that, life's good. And you get into your small groups or your leadership groups and you enjoy it. You get excited because you've got a lot of people around you that are encouraging you to be the people that you need to be. But is life always good? You know, I bumped 2 or 3 of you tonight. I was asking, hey, how's it going? And I forgot who it was that on the outside, he just kind of leaned up against the wall. I think it's okay. You know, what's wrong? Well, I've got tests, and I've got this, and I said, we're just a little stressed. Yeah, I'm a little stressed. You know, and I asked somebody else in the hallway, how you doing? Well, I'm doing. And I thought, this is Wednesday night. You got to be better than just doing, because we're all coming together to enjoy praying and praising God and just talking about our relationship with someone who loves us more than we could ever imagine. And so Chip's been talking out of the book of Ephesians. And if you've got your phones or your Bibles, look at Ephesians near the end of chapter 3, and we're going to look at that. I'm going to try to stay in that text because I believe with what we're talking about tonight, I could go to 1,000 different scriptures to prove my point. But I'm going to try to stay at the end of chapter 3, beginning of chapter 4, and I'm going to stop quickly. So y'all might like that, really, by the time I get through talking to you. But when times are good, everybody knows it. We get pumped and we're excited. I sing. Boy, when I listen to y'all sing, tears come to my eyes because I feel what you're singing. I really do. But when tough times come upon us, things change. And I'm curious. You guys help me. I'm 66 now. I cannot believe that. And I've been a counselor. I retired last year, but I counseled for about 17 years after I stopped doing full-time ministry. Now, you guys help me because I'm old enough to be most of your grandfathers. I can't stand to say that. But you help me. When I ask you about what would you consider tough times at the college age, what do you think? Sam? What do you... Oh, exams. I could have handled any answer but Sam's. Exams. Tough times for some of you. A little stressful. What else can cause tough times for you at college age?
Feeling.
Money, finances.
Feeling
what else?
alone.
Bills. What? Bills. Say that one more time. Bills. Bills. Okay. I thought you said hills.
That too.
I'm getting a little more anxious as we go on. How about relationships? Relationships? What about loneliness? You know, I don't know how many people we've got here tonight, but we've got some lonely people. Because even though you're sitting here in a crowd of 125 to 150, you don't feel like you fit. And you're just wondering why. I talked to somebody Sunday, walked up to her at church, and I don't know if it's my face or the tone of my voice, but I said, "How you doing?" And tears just welled up in her eyes. "I knew you were going to ask me that, and I wouldn't cry if you hadn't asked me." Tough times. People feel lonely. Let's talk about some other things, and then I want to talk about what is it, what do we experience, or what are you guys going to experience in your lifetime like I'm experiencing still? As people go through tough times, it may be you, it may be your friend, it may be your spouse, someday it could be your kids. But how do you handle tough times? How do you handle it? And then how do you help the people that you're around get through those tough times? Because guys, that's what we are here for, is for one another. Would you agree with that? We have got to lean on one another. Now the first source of getting through tough times is who? It's the Lord. It's the Lord. And let's look at that for just a second. Ephesians 3. I just want to read the end of that chapter in verse 14. Paul said, and this, he touches me here. He says, "For this reason, I bow my what? I bow my knees." I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. How many of you have been on your knees talking to Jesus today? But Paul caught me right there. Because growing up, I heard stories of grandparents, a generation before me, who left the imprints on the floor, or they had pillows on the floor beside their beds because they went to the Lord every day and they were on their knees. I haven't done that lately. Now, I guarantee you, I love my prayer life. I love sitting down with Jesus today out by the fire pit in my backyard, and we had a big talk. Talked about everybody I knew. Because you see, I can't take care of the things that I need to take care of unless I've got Him by my side. So listen to this. I better turn my Bible. "For this reason I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and earth is named. That is, that according to the riches of His glory, He may grant you to be strengthened with power through His Spirit in your inner being." Where's your inner being? What do you think that is? It's my heart. Paul prayed that we would be strengthened in our hearts, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you, being rooted and grounded in what? Love. Well, if you don't have love, you don't have much, do you? It's love that took Jesus to the cross. It's love that sent some of you to the DR this summer. It's love that sent some of you to do inner city mission work during a retreat last spring. It's love that's going to cause you and me to look out for the lonely people in this room tonight. Love does a lot of things, doesn't it? Love's the motivating factor in my life. If I didn't think Jesus loved me, I wouldn't be standing here right now. If I didn't think my wife of 44 years loved me, I wouldn't be with her. But she is the love of my life on this earth. But listen to what else he says. And that we may have strength to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and the length and the height and the depth, and to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all fullness of God. Now I wanted to read that just to get the word out, love. Because this is what the rest of this is about tonight. Life can be really great, and then we're going to go through struggles. Everybody here is going to go through struggles. I just don't know people that don't. Peggy and I were in Nashville with our grandkids a couple of weeks ago at Dairy Queen. Sitting outside, we were the only ones outside, and it was very obvious there was one other guy sitting over outside the corner, and it was obvious he was a homeless guy. big guy. Had on his army vest. You know, you could tell, you know, you thought he was a veteran. And my 9 and 7-year-old grandkids said, Pop, are you going to give him some money? And that really put me on the spot. Because I said, guys, let's think about this for a moment. I don't think he has a home. And you know, my experience has been sometimes when we help people with money like that, they don't do the right things with it. I said, what else do you think we could do? And we talked about it. I said, what if? Just what if we got him something else to eat? And they said, okay, Pop, let's go do that. And so he was getting up to leave, and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, are you still hungry? And I said, could I buy you something else to eat? He said, well, now, sir, I've had something to eat, but boy, an ice cream sure would taste good. I said, what flavor? And it was because my grandchildren's hearts were tender enough that they saw someone in need. And I went and got the biggest butterscotch sundae you could buy. While I was inside, that guy walked over to my grandkids and my wife and started talking about his life as he was a war veteran. He was going to have knee surgery, but you know what he kept talking about? His relationship with Jesus. So I brought him out his butterscotch sundae, and he said, "Just thank you. I just want to thank you, and God bless you. God bless you all so much." When somebody's going through a tough time, somebody needs to respond, don't they? You guys can do that, can't you? I know you do it. I know you probably do it every day when you encourage someone on campus. We talked about relationships being tough. I could go on all night and tell you stories. Relationships are tough when you're in college. Some of you guys in here have got the hots for the other person. And that's okay for you to be attracted to somebody else. I was when I was in college. But the thing is that not all of you are going to make it all the way through college in that one relationship. And someone can get hurt if you're thinking about yourself. And you're not thinking about your relationship with Jesus and his or her relationship with Jesus. And how can you realize this relationship isn't meant to be, but I want you to be my sister. I really do. And I don't want to hurt you. Breaking up is hurt. But I want us to heal so that someday we can look back and say, we made the right decision. We were friends while it lasted, but we're okay now. That's not going to happen to everybody in here. In fact, there's probably people in here that already met, gotten attracted to each other, and now you're broken up, and people are hurting. And when somebody's hurting, someone starts talking, don't they? And we start forcing people to choose sides. If you and I are filled with the love of Jesus, we can win that battle, can't we? And we're going to do it 2 ways. It's going to have to do with my relationship with Jesus and how I'm going to lean on him every day and talk to him and ask him to help me be who I need to be and treat that other person the way I need to treat that other person, even though we're not a couple anymore. So I've got to have that relationship with Jesus. And then I've got to make sure that my friends help that person get through what they're going through. Because I'm still hurting too. Does that make sense to you guys? In my marriage counseling, about 75% of my practice was marriage counseling. And if I saw 100 couples, one of the first things I'd ask them as I was getting to know them, tell me about your prayer life. You guys pray together? On average, about 3, and these were mostly almost all Christian couples. 3 couples out of 10 pray together. Is that going to help or hurt your relationship? No. Guys, I'm telling you, if you're in a relationship right now, you better make it a prayerful relationship. And that's going to depend on how close you are to Jesus first. And then how mindful you are of this other person's well-being. And I'm saying some things right now, and I'm going to use the verses to tell you how to do that. I've talked to college students in the past in my counseling practice, one-on-one. Well, what's your problem? Well, I'm a pleaser. And so I pretty much have done whatever he wanted me to do. Because you see, I just need somebody in my life. Guys, that somebody needs to be Jesus first. And when you feel good about your relationship with Jesus, it's a whole lot easier to say, no, we don't go there. Because that doesn't please my Lord. And then I've talked to other people who were dating controllers. What do you mean controllers? They want to know where I'm going. They want to know why, you know, I thought you were going to Walmart. What are you doing at Kroger's? Is that a relationship you want to be in? And I'm telling you, there's people in here that have been in those relationships. And when you've got a relationship with Jesus, it's a lot easier to make that wiser decision to get into a healthy relationship with somebody that you want to spend your life with. Does that make sense to you guys? I tried to talk to a homeless guy the other day, and he was sleeping on the dock of a building that my family owns, and he'd been there for about 5 days. And I really needed to get him off, but I also was concerned about his soul. And he was sleeping in front of the door. I couldn't even get in the building. You know, so I finally, and Peggy didn't want to go help me clean the building up, so I thought, I've got to do something. So I said, hey, you know, I was thinking, how do I talk to this guy? You know, I said, friend, that's the nicest word I think of. Friend, you're gonna have to move on. And he never moved. And finally I got a little bit closer. I said, hey, friend. And I was thinking, this guy could have a knife, he could have a gun, but at the same time I thought, but does he have Jesus? And I said, friend. And he sat up and he was mumbling, he was incoherent, and I didn't understand him. And when I came back, he was gone. I'm looking for him right now. Because I still don't know if he knows Jesus. People fall upon tough times, and it's not their fault. Filled out the rescue mission down Jefferson Avenue. Good people have lost their jobs. Good people lost their homes. And they're doing everything they can to survive day to day. And when times are tough, we all need Jesus, and we need somebody that cares. And I'm saying that to you, and I'm getting to the part that Chip actually asked me to talk about. What do you do when churches are in chaos? If you ever go to a church, you're here. You're going to go through times where there is chaos, where there's division. You're going to go through times where you're dealing with a lot of immature people. And you're going to have a lot of mature people also. Anytime you go to a congregation where there's more than one person, you're going to have problems. So guys, I'm praying that every one of you find a church that you're going to lift up, you're going to help carry with you. Because that's what Jesus wants us to do. He doesn't want division. He wants us to try to understand each other. Now, let me read the scripture, and I'm just going to apply about 5 words for you to be thinking about. And maybe it's time you start asking God everything. God, is this where I am in my life? In chapter 4, Paul said, he said, now since I'm in prison, let me encourage you to do a few things. And he's talking to Christians that are new Christians, basically. But he said in verse 1, he said, I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you've been called. And this is what I want you to think about. He said, I'd like for you to walk with all humility. I want you to walk and exhibit gentleness. I want you to be patient with one another. I want you to bear with one another. How? In love. It is only because of the love that Jesus has for me that I try to get along with some people. You too, huh? But it's in love. And he said, be eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit. be eager to maintain the bond of peace. So guys, there's 3 or 4 or 5 things that I just want to ask you to think about tonight. This is what's going to keep God's church together in the future. You're the church. Wherever you go, if you start a church, if you get into a church of 3 people or 3,000 people, the church will depend on you. That when there are any problems, anything in the way, you know, the worship style, that's the most ridiculous thing I think we divide over that I can think of. There's so many things that divide the church and will continue to divide the church as you all become my age because of selfishness instead of selflessness. And that's what you're going to have to think about. Rather than walk around and say, oh, I don't like this, or whenever I go over here, this is the way it's going to be. Just think about Jesus. I don't think that's what he talked about. I don't think he talked about worship style. I don't think he talked about necessarily how we dress. I think he talked about us loving one another. Having humble spirits. Being gentle with one another. Bearing with one another. Loving one another. And when we do that, the walls won't hold how many students are going to sit in here. Because you love people. And your minds are looking, your eyes are looking around campus every day for someone that doesn't know Jesus, for someone who might be lonely, for someone who might be walking in the world rather than in a manner worthy of the way that God called you and me. It's about us, guys. The church is about Jesus. Jesus is about us. We need to be about His work. I could tell you again, story after story after story of people who come in, they've been suicidal. I got notice Sunday, somebody had written something that said, I can't stand myself. Don't know a name, can't figure out who it is. Wish y'all could be praying for that person, because I'd like to find out who wrote it. You're the ones who can make a difference. You're the ones who can make the UCSC be unified. But it's only be because of 2 reasons. First of all, you really love Jesus, and you understand how much He loves you. Second of all, that you start looking around, and you look for people who are going through tough times. And you be humble with them, and you be gentle with them, and you bear with them, and you don't stop loving them. Do not let your college years be about yourself. Like I say, I'm excited for you guys. I've just never been in a group this big of college students. But if there's 150 here, how many is not here? And there are a lot of people that need Jesus. You're the ones who are going to reach out and just sometimes sit down and let someone talk to you. You don't have to say a word when people are hurting, you know it. Just sit there. You might make good counselors. You know, just sit there and listen. And then let them know you love them. Unity is about where we are in our relationship with Jesus. Josh said it great last Wednesday night when he talked about trying to grow in his prayer life. You know, grow in your prayer life, grow in your study, grow in your relationships with each other. I pray that almost all the time is good time, but you know what? I pray that part of the time in your lives you go through some tough times. And the reason is, Jesus said it. But the thing that we can find comfort in is that when I'm walking through tough times, who's walking with you? Jesus. Hope you keep that in mind. Let me read a quick story to you, because this is what I'd like to see you all think about. 9/11, 2001, planes went through the Twin Towers up in New York City, right? I don't know, how old are you guys then? You know, I was a lot younger. You're 4 or 5? See, I remember it. I was up on Bon Air Mountain outside of Sparta, coming back, and I heard it on the radio. I had my sister-in-law, and I had just been at a Head Start school, and we heard something about an attack. And we pulled over off the road, looking out over the Bon Air Mountain, and they talked about how 4 planes have been taken, and 2 made it to the Twin Towers. 1 made it in Washington, and the other one, the people downed it down in Pennsylvania. Well, let me read you this story, and I just want to ask you if this is the type of person you'd like to have around you. It said that every September we remember the events of 9/11. One thing time cannot dull is the inspiration we feel whenever we learn about the many acts of heroism and sacrifice performed by countless men and women who had to face the unthinkable before the towers fell. Take, for example, the story of a young man who saved at least a dozen lives before giving his own. His name was Wells Crowther, a young trader who worked in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. But to those he saved, he will always be remembered as the man with the red bandana. At 9:02 a.m. on September the 11th, the sky lobby on the 78th floor of the South Tower was filled with people, all debating whether to stay or go as the North Tower burned. At 9:03, the lobby was dark and filled with smoke. The second plane had struck. Most of the people in the lobby probably died, but a few survived, albeit with injuries. As these survivors tried to make sense of what was going on, a man appeared holding a red bandana over his nose and mouth. "Anyone who can walk, get up and walk now," he ordered. "Anyone who can help others, find someone who needs help, and then head down." His voice, survivors remembered, was calm and authoritative. Slowly but surely, he led groups of people down several flights of stairs, then went back the way he came to see if others needed help. He even carried one woman on his back, setting her down only when they had finally reached clean air. "This way to the stairs," he said, whenever he returned to the 78th floor. "This way to the stairs." It's hard to overstate the importance of this simple bit of instruction. The plane that struck the South Tower did so at an angle, severing every stairwell but one. This was the one Wells Crowther directed people to. It was the only escape, the only lifeline, but it was filled with smoke and debris. Many people thought it impassable and decided to head up instead of down. Thankfully, Crowther kept a remarkably clear head and held his nerve. It's impossible to know how many lives were saved thanks to his calm demeanor, quick thinking, and bravery. But to save only one would be noteworthy. To save dozens, as Crowther likely did, was miraculous. To have the courage to continue going up the stairs as others went down was heroic. "If he hadn't come back," one survivor later said, "I wouldn't have made it." People can live 100 years and not have the compassion, the wherewithal to do what he did. But at the time, no one knew his name. His heroism lived only in the stories swapped by survivors and recounted to journalists. In a famous piece by the New York Times published less than a year later, he was described only as a mysterious man with a red bandana. We need more men and women like this to be able to say, when there's somebody that doesn't know what direction to go, this is the way you go. Take my hand. Talk to me. Everyone in this room has that ability. Because you see, Jesus has showed you the way. And the one thing that you and I need to be doing each and every day is looking for those who don't know what direction to go. And they're losing their lives. And it's not just as we will, it's for eternity. You're a great group. Guys, we can change Texas campus. And as you grow older and you graduate and you go spread out throughout the whole world, you make a difference. But you do it because of love, bearing with one another, humility, and gentleness. And Jesus will be lifted up, and the church will grow because of you. Let's pray. Lord, you are an awesome God. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for this group, from the youngest to the oldest. We just want to glorify you. We can never repay you for what you've given us. But Father, I pray especially for all of our students as they go through tough times, be it exam, finances, relationships, loneliness. Father, please enable these students to see the people who are hurting and needs someone to talk to. And say your son's name up front. Amen.